What's going on, YouTube? It's James with Shyhammer Fantasy Battle Reports, and this is actually, I guess, we were trying to come up with a name for what this is, my vlogs. I liked, somebody said, like, Gork's Workshop. That's what it was. Gork's Workshop. I like that one. I also like Gork Will Fix It, but there's a couple suggestions out there that I liked. A lot of people keep on throwing out Chicken Head, but I think that Chicken Head probably should stay out of this title. I don't know. Just throw out there whatever you guys feel see fit for what these vlogs should be named, and I'll gladly whoever I decide to pick on will probably get named that anyway. So just throw them out there. Who knows? But today I'm actually talking about the lore of Shadow and the lore of the little gods, I guess it's called, and mainly just because there's a lot of like talk going on the 9th Age forum, so I'm putting this out there just to kind of give everybody perspective on what's going on and what people see. And to be honest, I'm stubborn as hell. I like to be like an Orcs and Goblins purist, where I'm just going with the little spell and the big spell, because I don't usually like to stray from what is Orcs and Goblins. But looking it over, I totally see what everybody's saying. Everybody's saying how Shadow is just far superior than Little WAAAGG or Little Gods. And I'm going to go ahead and go over real quick with you guys and show you what they're looking at and what I'm looking at, and why it would be just better to go ahead and pick a Little God spell. Or, I'm sorry, Shadow spell. So right here I have this page up. It's the Path of Shadows, and then I also got the Path of the Little Green Gods. Now, first thing is the tribute. The tribute doesn't really do shit. I mean, Little Green Gods tribute, Dirty Thieving. It's if you cast off the spell and you get the attribute and somebody's in 36-inch range, you could potentially lower their dispel and casting attempts by -1. But you have to roll a 5 for that, and that's like fucking impossible. No, it's not impossible, but you just gotta be lucky, and it happens, you know, 33% of the time, which is to me none, because if I got the spell off. So that I kind of just ignore. Alright, but let's look at the Lore of Shadows attribute. They got Shadow Step. It's a 12-inch range augment. It affects only a character only. It doesn't say a character has to be in or out of a unit. It just affects a character. And basically it happens instant. They can move 10 inches as a flying magical move. That has so much potential. It has a potential like, I have my Wyvern boss just trying to go up, you know, to a flank or something like that, and I cast whatever, then a signature spell off, and all of a sudden my boss gets a free 10-inch move on top of his original move, and just throws him way out of the way. 10 inches, I mean, on top of his original 14 inches, or even if thinking of it like, you know, a turn or two ahead, you want him to get a little bit closer, or just turn facing the combat, you could easily do that. Another thing that has great potential with that attribute is you have somebody in your unit's about to get charged on the next turn, you see the potential threat, and you grab that guy and take him the hell out of that unit. So that's always a good option too. So attribute right now, Shadow destroys little gods. Alright, let's go over the signature spell, Evil Eye. Now, out of all the spells, I mean, if you watch any of my battle reports, you can watch all my spells I use with the little shaman. It's the Evil Eye. The Evil Eye signature spell, it is, I'm going to put it this way, it's one of the best spells they have, just because it's a quick and easy 5 to cast, 5 for a 2d6 strength 3 hits. I got a pack of hounds coming at my war machines, poof, Evil Eye, they're dead. I got, you know, slaves coming, poof, Evil Eye, kill a bunch of them. You know, so I mean, it's only strength 3. It's not armor piercing. It's not going to kill, you know, massive amounts of hordes of elite armies or anything like that. But elves, come on, they're only toughness 3, so you're going to hit some elves and kill some elves. And in a situation where you're going up against a monster, you're just hoping for 6s, throw them. It's a 5 to cast. On a level 2, you roll 2 dice, and you will almost always get the 5 to cast. That's not, I mean, that's a really good cost. You can boost it for a 10 for the 3d6, which is pretty cool, and I've used it both ways. Let's go over the signature spell on the Path of Shadows. Path of Shadows, they got Shadow Miasma. Same thing, cost is 5 or 10. It's a 48-inch range. Holy shit! 28 inches. It lasts one turn, and basically you get the chance to lower either the weapon skill, the ballistic skill, the movement, or the initiative of the other unit, or whoever you picked as your. And since it's a hex, you can pick anybody. They could be in close combat. They could be whatever, wherever. It's a hex. I don't even think you need line of sight with the hex. If you boost it, you could get all four: the weapon skill, ballistic skill, movement, and initiative, all minus D3. So I mean, the minus D3 could be -1, which really doesn't do too much. But I mean, sometimes it can make a big difference. I was thinking about it. I was at my job thinking about this. Like, holy shit, you could lower the ballistic skills of these cannons and war machines and really help out your guys. I mean, one of the biggest problems with Orcs and Goblins players, and I'm pretty sure all the Orcs and Goblin players could agree with me, is getting shot by fucking organ guns or cannons. That's like the most devastating thing. You just watch half your army just like get killed and fucking die. Your Ragnarok get blasted to shit. So if you could lower their ballistic skill, that's pretty huge. That's actually, I mean, that's really good. Now I'm gonna go kind of jump ahead here, because what Shadow Miasma kind of looks like to me on the Little God spells is Itching and Scratching, which is a cost of a 7+. The range is only 24. And it's minus D3 movement and initiative. So for the same, I mean, not really the same cost, but you're getting a really, like, first off, it's a signature on the Shadow. And for the Little Gods, it's only you have to roll a 3, and then you don't get ballistic skill and weapon skill, which is more or less what I would use it for. I mean, I barely ever use Itchy Scratching. I mean, the only reason I would do it is just to kind of fuck up somebody's charge, but you could do that with the Shadow, no problem. Hell, you could hit everything on once and no problem and fuck them up. So that's where Shadow. I mean, as for the signature versus the signature, I actually like both signatures. Both signatures are pretty good. But for what the signature is compared to the comparative of the Little Gods, I would go with Shadow. That's just, it's down by far just superior for 5 to 10, you know, points or power or whatever it is, casting value. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the number 1. Number 1 is Sneaky Slicing. Now this one is for the Path of the Little Gods. It's a 6 to cast, which is, again, it's very easy cast, 6 or a 9. Range is 12 inches or 24 if it's boosted. It gives you armor piercing. And if you are in the flank or the rear, it gives you armor piercing plus rerolls to hit and rerolls to wound. Okay, that's pretty cool. I always like that. The one thing that kind of relies on, besides the armor piercing, is you have to be in the flank or the rear. So it's extremely situational. Now, I'm just going to go ahead, I'm not going to go ahead and number 1 here, but I'm going to go look for exactly which one it is. Here, they don't really have on Shadow something that helps you reroll hits or wounds, okay? On the flank. But what they do have, and this is jumping way ahead, is their number 6 spell, Mind Razor. Mind Razor, it's a huge fucking cost, 16 or 19, and the range changes from 18 or 36 on the boosted version or the unboosted. But it gives everybody armor piercing. But then listen to this: targets non-special close combat attacks wound automatically. So you just roll the fucking dice. And if your goblins are at weapon skill 2, or if your orcs, your orc Ed Bashers are weapon skill 4, and they hit on 4s, all that wounded. Anything that's a 4 just fucking wounded. Or anything that's going to be a 5 for goblins, most likely, is going to wound. Don't even have to think twice about it. And you automatically got armor piercing. You don't have to re-roll your wounds. You automatically wounded. What the hell? So, like I said, the casting cost is a big fucking difference. Huge difference. But that's crazy. And the other thing that Mind Razor does, besides doing sneaky stabbing or sneaky slicing, is it kind of goes for the next one, which is Blessing of the Mother Spider. Blessing of the Mother Spider, you're getting for a 7 or a 10. Okay, so if you start thinking of it this way, 2 spells for a casting cost of like 13 is giving you what 1 spell gives you for a casting cost of 16. But the Blessing of the Mother Spider gives gives your unit, wherever unit you target, poison. If they already have poison, it gives them a 5-up poison. Okay, so I like the Blessing of the Spider. I like it. It's a cheap cost. I like giving it to whoever my savages for just or my ferals. I'm sorry, for they're in close combat. A lot of people see that they either try to dispel it right away, or they just like, fuck it, you're gonna poison me regardless, it doesn't matter. Or you just kind of save it towards the part where they don't have any more dice and you do it. But giving yourself an opportunity. I mean, the one negative effect from the Mind Razor that I'm looking at is you're gonna have to 5 dice it. You're gonna have to 4 or 5 dice it to get it off, and you're gonna need like a level 3 or level 4. Whereas the armor piercing and the poison, you only need like a level 1 or 2 to do that. So that's one thing to look at. We went over itching and scratching. We got Fix It Up. All right, Fix It Up. It's the target must reroll to hit, wounds, or saves any rolls that they rolled of 6. So anything they rolled of 6, they're gonna have to reroll all 6s more or less. So just armor save though, not ward saves. There isn't really anything in Path of Shadows that does that per se. I'm getting to the part where Path of Shadows really kind of goes into other things that Little Gods doesn't have. So that's something that Little Gods has that Shadows does not have, is re-rolling 6s. It's cast on a 10+, which is, it's a medium cast, but I mean, it's looking at 3 dice for a level 2, more or less. I mean, unless you have better faith in my rolls, because if you guys watch my videos, you see my magic rolls, they're shit. Anyways, it's a hex, last one turn. I've used this and it pisses people off, especially if they have, one of my best uses of it is when they're trying to attack my Gargantula, the Ragnarok, and they need to wound it on a 6 because the toughness is a 6. So all of a sudden I throw that spell up, and then they're throwing the 6s, and they're like, fucking A, I can't even, I have to reroll the 6s, and half their wounds don't even do anything, or they miss all their wounds, and that sucks for them, not for me. Now, stay quiet, and I know this is going across the board to everybody who plays Orcs and Goblins. Everybody hates that name. That is like one of the dumbest names. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whoever made that name up. I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult you by any means. But nobody likes that name, man. It used to be the Night Shroud. Give it something like that, like a Mist. I don't know, something like that. But anyways, it's either cast on 11, which only affects the caster's unit, or it's affected on a 14, which goes to a ranged aura, which is kind of cool. An aura hits anybody that's in the circumference of them for 6 inches, but 6 inches it really isn't that much. But it gives everybody in that 6-inch aura distracting and blurry, and if somebody charges into them while they have that up, they have to take dangerous terrain. Now, Path of Shadows does have something like that, and it is slightly better, I believe. It is their #1 spell, the Orb of Blackness, cast on a much cheaper cost. This Stay Quiet is 11 and 14, whereas Orb of Blackness is on a 6 or a 9. It goes 24 inches or 48 inches, and it's basically a 3-inch template. Goes where you pick, and it has to be at least 1 inch away from the unit, and it causes this template is considered to be a piece of obscuring terrain, hard terrain, and dangerous terrain. Okay, so instead of worrying about somebody shooting you and you're getting a -1 to get shot at, this will give you just throw it right in front of their freaking archers that are shooting at you, and they got a -2 to hit now because it's hard cover. It's also obscuring terrain, which means that some people can't even see through it, you know what I mean? And if they can, it's going to still be considered hard terrain. And if they do decide to charge through it somehow, or if they do flee through it, I guess, it's going to be dangerous terrain. So it's basically just throwing up a pillar of smoke that they can't deal with. They have to go around it, or they have to, it's just going to be in their way. And this causes a bigger nuisance than just giving yourself a -1 to hit or a -1 to range for blurry. The dangerous terrain, that's always kind of been just like a gimmick. It's not really been something that's like really going to change the game, because you got a successful spell that gives you dangerous terrain. It barely ever kills one guy, if that. And then we have the last one, which is Curse of the Green Moon, which is a vortex, and each model suffers a strength 3 hit, no armor saves, and anybody who's touched by it loses 1 weapon skill. Well, we already know Shadow could give you something that lowers the weapon skill more than 1. Okay? I actually used this in the last game I played. I actually used it wrong. But I'll be putting up that video probably in the next day or two. But I liked it. The casting cost for it though is 14, which is kind of high, especially for like a level 2 goblin that most people would probably take. But strength 3 doesn't really kill much. The -1 weapon skill though works no matter what if they are just touched by the template, so that works. Oh, I was using the wrong template. It's the big template. I was using the small template. I just saw that. But anyways, and the no armor saves is kind of cool too, because I mean you could get lucky wounds off on a tough 4 1-up armor thing, you know, and just do a one wound. So I mean it kind of is nice and all, but again, Shadow has something that's just far superior. Shadow has what used to be the Pit of Shades. It is the Devouring Darkness. Cast on a 13+, so it's 1 less to cast. Okay, it's a hex. It is a small template though, and you scatter the small template only D6, which D6 isn't that far, except if it was the Foot of Gork. If it's the Foot of Gork, it seems like 20 freaking feet if you just roll a 6. But anyways, D6 isn't that far, scatters. But anybody who's touched by this template has to take an initiative test, okay? Which, I mean, that's probably the same odds as if you're trying to wound a 3. But if they fail the initiative test, so if it's a good way to hit hordes or big blocks, it's going to do multiple wounds, D3 plus 2. No regen saves and no armor saves. No regen saves, and it does minimum 3 wounds. Minimum 3 wounds on things that have multiple wounds. Okay? For 13. That'll kill some trolls. That'll kill some big Nurgle, or not Nurgle, I don't know what the hell they're called now. Big monsters of plague or something, I don't know what they're called. That'll kill some rat ogres, that'll kill some, that'll kill, you know, what are they called? Demigryphs or whatever they're called. I don't know the new names for half these armies yet. I'm still going through it. Granted, I know a lot of people who played 8th edition Warhammer who would love Pit of Shades back, because Pit of Shades was just like suck people into the, you know, into the pit and just die. But for the comparison of the Little Gods versus the Shadows, Shadows has it way better than the Little Gods. Now, there's a couple on the Path of Shadows I didn't even mention yet. One of them is Turn to Smoke. The other one is Glimpse of the End. That one gives -1 strength, and the other one gives -1 toughness. And again, if you're playing goblins specifically, you only got like strength 3, tough 3. So you're kind of bringing people down to your level or lower than your level, which is kind of cool. And especially if you team up their minus strength, and then you also throw nets on them, you could probably take most people from like a strength 5 to a strength 3, and that cuts ridiculously in half how many people are getting, how many of your goblins are getting wounded, and it'll cut the combat like ridiculously. So that's something really interesting, and that's only an 8 to cast. If they're in combat with your goblins, it's only an 8 to cast, and you're gonna minimum -1 strength. You can boost it for 14+ and give them minus D3 strength, which is kind of a gamble. I mean, you might get, you know, a 3, you might get just a 1, and you would have got that anyways on an 8. So that's interesting. And then the minus toughness is awesome too, because you're only strength 3. So I mean, if you're gonna fight something that has like something crazy like a monster that has tough 5 or tough 6, you're gonna be able to lower them to something a little bit more manageable to wound. The other thing too is Chariot of the Mist. That's the same thing as the Shadow Step. That's the only spell I look at that is pretty much useless in this whole list of Shadow, because you could cast any spell that's actually really useful and get the same thing for your attribute versus using up Power Dice and potentially sucking your wizard into the warp to give your guy a free move. The one thing I do like about the Chariot of the Mist though is the range is bigger, so you could target actually it doesn't, I don't think it's actually, I think I take that back. Chariot of the Mist, it looks like you can take any unit. Yeah, you could. It doesn't say character only. The tribute character only, but the charity of the mist you could take.